Aloha. I wanted to do a quick video. I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it quick this time because this is going to be a follow-up to the last video and kind of relate even further the correlations between the understanding of who and what we are as individuals, as a collective, as souls, as from our ancestors in the golden ages and the kings and all of the information that adds up to today. What I was doing with that last video was expanding upon the importance of expanding the depths of truth from a 360-degree perspective. A truth is 1 degree of perspective. One truth, one line, one statement that is true is 1 degree of truth. That doesn't make up all the degrees of truth, which is what something like Flat Earth is revealing when it goes into the depths of the human story, the relationships that have happened that have added up to the enslavement of an entire mass of people in an entire experience. This is the culmination. It is the adding up of all of the wars, all of the genocides, all of the massacres, all of the power grids, all of the mind control programs, all of the conditions, all of the conditioning programs, all of the systems that not only work against humanity and nature as a whole, but what we consider to be working for us. Because that which we believe and take pride in is being used against us to keep us from challenging the system itself. That goes in part with having to mix in parts of truth with the overall lie so that people will chew it down, like putting a pill inside of a little doggy treat or some kind of dog food for a dog to eat. They have to cover it up with something that you won't take notice of what's in the center, what the intention of that is. So that's why I said it's important to not only bring light to that which has kept us fighting ourselves and destroying in this destructive cycle of behavior, but to also challenge that which has made us think that, this is the evolutionary peak of humanity. It might be the evolutionary peak of humanity just by pure existence, but that doesn't mean it's activated as such. We might have the potential energy of the peak of the human experience, but that doesn't make it active until you turn that potential energy into kinetic energy, which is you activating the 360-degree perspective. Potential energy being channeled into 1 degree of perspective is what we are dealing with today. Potential energy, when they say, you're a god or you're a king in the so-called conscious community, because this is really what I really wanted to go into in this video, is the difference between like pride and true power, and related to like so-called conscious communities and what happened when the heliocentric model was brought into place, When heliocentrism was brought in, that was an intellectual power. 500 years ago, they were saying, we invented this. We invented the telescope. We invented the science, the observation, the awareness of our reality. We invented this. We discovered this. And everybody else before us and after us who challenges this system, but mostly everybody before us, is primitive and savage. And if you are primitive and savage, you deserve exactly what you will get from the individuals who have discovered the new world, the individuals who have discovered the synthetic peak of human evolution, the hidden peak of the potential energy of the human experience channeled into a linear perspective. That's what's going on today with the university system. It's channeling intelligence. It's channeling information. It's channeling our experience through this filter of collective and self-destruction. And you love it so much. At the same time, you're disempowered because it's such a superpower. And it's not true power. It's power built on stuff like pride. That's no different than, like I was responding to a person who commented and asking me about the true definition or the origins of the word nigger or nigga from Negus and the Ethiopian emperor and the whole king and god origins of that word. And I purposely didn't go into that perspective, because the word is only as deep as the individual who voices whatever word it is, whether it's a little kid saying to another kid, I love you. Like there's no essence there. Or, somebody like a man child calling himself a king or something like that. There's nothing there. It's empty. So I'm more interested in the foundations and the expansions of the individual, and not so much about the words that are used as the facade of that individual. I'm not really interested in, just like when you're talking to somebody, people who just talk shit all the time. They're just diarrhea of the mouth. They don't really have any essence to what they're saying. There's no weight behind their words. That's the same thing that goes for using the word, or using the origin of the word, the negus, to give you some kind of like credibility for using the word today, using it right now. Like, oh, it's okay because it means king. Well, don't just use a word just because it means something. Actually embody what that word means. That's what I'm saying is the difference between pride and true power. Like, using a word is a linear way to look powerful or sound powerful. It has nothing to do with the essence of who you are, or the character, or the soul perspective of who you are. This is at the heart of what the Western civilization or the colonial Colombian mindset is for. It's all about the suit that you wear. It has nothing to do with the soul that you are. It's about what you look like. So in reference to like heliocentrism, in '69, when the United States told the world that they went to the moon and televised it, look at what happened after that. It was about pride. It was in the newspapers. We did it. We made it to the moon. Our conquests, Our colonization, our destruction of the Native Americans, the indigenous and the aboriginal people of the world wasn't in vain. We did it. We did something good. We defeated the earth, the constraints of the earth, and we made it all the way to the moon. Nobody can say shit to us because we're the ones who did it. And since we did it on the blood and the bones of people, and we did this for humanity, you can't look at anything else that added up to now. We gave you technology. We gave you the university system. We gave you astrophysicists. We give you theoretical physicists. We're giving you quantum mechanics and quantum physics. We gave you your public education system. We gave you apple pie and hot dogs and Major League Baseball and the NFL and the NBA. We gave you all of this stuff. We give you the Olympics. We give you everything. How dare you question what we have given you? This is that playing the aggressor and playing the victim role that the system is using, to where it's basically, if you don't understand the 360-degree perspective, it's impenetrable. You can't get through that force field because you're constantly blocked by positive and negative energy. You're blocked by not being able to address or challenge the system, and you're blocked by not being able to activate yourself outside of the system. That's the main point that I have in these so-called black conscious communities, these so-called like black, what is that, like buy black or black economics and all that other stuff. That whole mentality, like I said in the last video, the power is not in the system itself. The power is in you expanding outside of the consciousness that created the system in the first place. So all this black owned stuff and all that, even the word black, and not coming from the perspective of understanding the story beyond the reactionary program that has been delivered to us by the university system and the way the system is today. This is where I'm coming from when I make any of these videos, is to give as much of the information of the 360-degree perspective as I can, so that there's nothing that can pigeonhole you into a one version of reality. There's nothing that can pigeonhole you into something that can be, because if you come from the 360-degree perspective, just like the system does, then of yourself from the inside out instead of from the outside in, if you come from the inside out 360-degree perspective, you create an impenetrable field. You create the connection, the roots. That's activating the roots of this system. Like I was saying in reference to the origins of the Negus word, that word, like putting a crown, just saying that word doesn't make you a king. A man wearing a crown doesn't make that man a king. Just like calling yourself a man doesn't make you a man. Being a man makes you a man. Like actually in action, in your beingness. That's what makes you who you are. It's all of it. It's everything that you are, both in your waking and your conscious and your subconscious reality. The balances of your 360-degree perspective. Like I said in the response to that comment, you can wear 100 crowns in this lifetime, but you're not going to be able to take any of those crowns with you. They won't matter. You can be in control of, billions and millions and billions of people during this experience. You can be the greatest, athlete or whatever it is in the physical reality. You're not going to be able to take any of that with you. It's only going to exist here. Does that mean it doesn't matter? No. But there's something else that comes from a deeper perspective of who and what you are that actually matters on a more deeper level. There's like the difference between, like, if you were gonna go on a date with somebody, and then they might look really good, but on the inside she's empty, like, or there's nothing there. It's just this false sense of self, or at all. If it's at all, it's an anti-self when you're trying to be something else. This is why so much energy is focused on the physical body, working out, like muscles, and the way you look. Taken to another extreme, the European sort of idea of beauty is accepted as the definition of beauty. So that makes anybody who doesn't have the features, European features, it makes them ugly, and makes them not beautiful. So this is where the self-hatred comes in. This is where the fear of being yourself comes in. This is where the separation between you and your soul comes in, because you're no less than 2, 3, or 4 degrees or layers separated from who and what you are on the deepest space, because you're not even allowed to enter that space because you don't know it exists. You're too busy trying to be something else, trying to be somebody else, trying to judge yourself based upon what somebody else has told you to be like, or act like, or dress like, or talk like, or whatever it is. That's what all this heliocentrism, this colonization, the gentrification, the ownership over land and people, all of this comes from the worshiping of the materialistic realm, down to the very nature of how you raise your children and how your children raise their children. So this is how these generations pile on top of themselves, and why I expand so much on the importance of talking about the individual and the historical mind control programs and conditions that have added up to people being so powerless that they allow artificial kings and queens to rule over them. That is where your true empowerment comes from, on the inside out, to not be subjected or susceptible to plastic kings or synthetic gods to generate this artificial idea of power over you. That's the difference between the outside and the inside perspective. Facing people who believe in the globe from a flat earth perspective is largely from the external perspective. It helps people. It's like at the cusp of going into the internal space, but it stops right there because it's not deeply rooted. There's no roots there. The roots are just dangling when you come from flat versus globe. They're not firmly planted into the, there's a meaning and a purpose of why we're here right now. There's a meaning and a purpose of why the heliocentric program is existing right now on a soul level. There's a meaning and a purpose to all of this. And that's where people will really get into understanding, understanding, and overstanding what's really going on here, when you bring up stuff like flat earth in response to the heliocentric mind control program. If we continue to stay on the surface layer materialistic version of reality and the reactionary programs of, flat versus globe, it's already maxed out. It's not going to go any further than, one against the other. It's no different than the past. And like I said, these are all tools. I understand that. Even like I said in the comment response, even understanding the definition of the word negus in reference to the word nigga or nigger and all that other stuff, all of that is a tool. It's a stepping stone. It will max out as a tool. It will max out as a stepping stone if you continue to just come at it from that perspective and use that energy from only that perspective, instead of taking it a step even further and understanding what that tool or what that stepping stone is moving you towards, the inner space. Using the word and the definition of the word is only external if you do not inhabit that space of what that truly is on the inside out. If you just say, you know, I'm a king, that doesn't make you a king. It makes you a person saying a word. What makes you who you are is what people can't really see, like what they can't really, what people can feel from you. It's the combination of the 360-degree individual that you are, that is the soul. So this materialistic plane, the conscious reality, the alchemy of this reality is largely based in one version, and 50% of the reality is based from the linear perspective, from the masculine, you know, one, you know, the get stuff done, the not to say that, you know, the feminine aspect doesn't get stuff done, but it's mostly like focus. It's a focus, where the feminine aspect or the negative energy is more of a caring, a caretaker, a soft sort of like a hard softness, the presence that speaks without words. And when you put things into words, that's a focus of energy. So if you just focus all of your energy on the words, then you're not going to be able to tap into the balances that can be spoken without any words. That's the balance of the negative and the positive, the light and the dark, the electric and the magnetic. The essence of who and what you are on the inside that ultimately needs no words to be spoken. So when I came at that in that last video from that perspective, it was because I wanted to expand upon the importance of going inward from the inside space out, instead of from the outside space in, which is what people like Jay-Z are doing when he's talking about, you know, get your credit, stop spending money in a strip club, work on your credit. He's just telling you to be a more intellectual slave, be a more successful slave, in a sense. That's ultimately what that whole video I was just talking about is, because that's what this whole mainstream agenda is, including stuff like the new age is, you know, the same way. They're creating, and parts of the black conscious community, they're creating situations that are already maxed out. If you start to worship the situation and don't realize that the situation is just a stepping stool or a tool to get you to a place that we haven't even imagined yet. That's what I'm saying is beyond this artificial reality that is being manipulated by these so-called powers that be. Is that we're not even allowed to use our imagination, because that's the true power space that challenges the system that is beyond this whole lack of imagination space. When you come from the perspective of just putting a crown on your head and calling yourself a king without inhabiting that space from the inside out, that is ultimately counterproductive and dangerous, because that's exactly what these so-called powers that be have done. So it doesn't matter if you do it from this angle or that angle. It matters that you're doing it, period. It might sound different because you're coming from a different angle. It might feel different because you look different, but if you're constantly just putting out the same limitation programs, then ultimately it will be the same. It will act as the same. So my mission with this video, with this channel, ultimately is to help people expand themselves into a deeper understanding, and overstanding of the soul experience. Because that's what I've gotten out of, and people still to this day say, what does this have to do with flat earth? Because I'm sharing what this has to do with flat earth is that this is what I've gotten out of not only flat earth, this is on my entire journey, but flat earth was a catalyst to help me realize the deeper meaning and purpose of who and what I am beyond the physical reality, beyond the materialistic limitations of this experience, into the soul, into the deeper layers of who and what I am. And once I realized that, if the individual and masses of people were to come at, whatever from that perspective, from the soul perspective, that can't be messed with, that can't be manipulated or co-opted by anybody else, because you're activating something that is deeply rooted in who and what they are on a level that people can't touch. It's like these people who are real people, and then you have fake people, like people who try to be something that they're not, or you know what I'm talking about when you interact with somebody who's just really full of themselves, egotistical, or wearing all these like gold chains, or focusing only on their body, or thinking they're calling themselves like really beautiful just because they look a certain way, but really have nothing of essence to who they are on the inside. That's what I'm saying is what's shifting in the human experience. At the same time, the observation of the human experience is shifting on the materialistic plane, when people are realizing that we don't live on this synthetic ball that they've told us, the so-called they have told us. We don't live in this self-destructive, fight or flight, animalistic, monkey-minded, Big Bang, no meaning and purpose reality. We actually have a meaning and something that is built up of purpose, that has a meaning, that is the soul. It's the shifting from thinking that you're nothing and just dead already, from being just the physical casing, human casing, shifting from that into the non-physical soul essence of who and what you are. That's what I see is what's happening with the human experience and the natural earth experience, and us just challenging the globe system is just the physical representation of what that is. Like I said, it goes from the soul to the mind to the body. I came at my own so-called awakening, or whatever it is, or looking into what's going on. I came into this journey, started off with challenging the system by challenging myself, and realizing what this whole system is, this military industrial complex, the colonial agenda, the destructive mentalities and behaviors that are accepted by the mainstream everything. I started there, but then I got into the soul space of, man, there's something else, there's something deeper. This is not just a physical or psychological warfare that's going on. This is a spiritual warfare. So if this is a spiritual warfare, then how does this spiritual warfare affect, or how is this spiritual warfare being activated or amplified with stuff like heliocentrism, the racism agenda, white supremacy, colonization, genocide, massacres, the demonization of the indigenous and the aboriginal people, the poisoning of the food, the poisoning of the water, the poisoning of the mines, the depopulation program, the transhumanism programs, all of these programs, like separating you from the stars, the sun, the moon, what we call planets, the light bodies, the balances of this physical experience, how that affects us, not just on a financial, economic, power grid of the materialistic realm, but how it affects us on the soul level. That's why a lot of people still, come at me or just like, what does this have to do with flat earth? I'm just like, well, you're not really going to see what it has to do with flat earth if you don't see yourself with eyes of the soul. If you're still looking with eyes of the economy, with eyes of conspiracy theorists, with eyes of the materialistic plane, or with the eyes of limitation, if you see through the eyes of that, you're not going to be able to see what your true potential is. You're still looking at the reactionary, destructive programs that the system is based upon. And I'm done with that. I'm not going through that anymore. I already understand that, everybody is on their own journey, and they will get to wherever it is that they're going in their own way and in their own time. And the more that we focus on expanding constantly our understanding, understanding, and overstanding of this experience and how this experience affects us on a soul level, until we come from that space, we'll still be addressing. See, what happens, how I see it in like an image that just flashed in my eyes, it's kind of like you're constantly faced with linear projections of your reality. So like Polaroid, like photographs of your reality constantly flickering. And you have a choice to walk, like actually take a step into that Polaroid. But that's not who you are. You're the camera, you're the Polaroid, you're the image in there, you're the entire experience that is that's a part of, that is the observer itself. So observing the observer. So the observer is within the linear constructs, observing all the linear constructs of your reality. But the observer of the observer is the experience itself. So that's becoming the experience from the 360-degree perspective. But it's very difficult when you are bombarded with the linear constructs of all of these beautiful images that are constantly flashing in front of your face, that are trying to suck you into one version of reality. Because it's very comfortable to be in that one image, in that one picture, because you don't really have to do much. The experience is already set up. It's already locked in. You're locked into who you are. Everything. It's when you're in that linear construct. It's I don't want to say easy, but you don't have. There's not much movement that happens there because you're locked in. But once you let go of trying to hold on, that's when you empower yourself or start to embody the space of the 360-degree perspective of the experience itself. So one of my main points about specifically within the flat earth community is to help people realize or see even further that yes, it's a beautiful thing to discover that, you know, we've been lied to, because it lightens you up. It's a beautiful thing to discover that you have a meaning and a purpose. There's some kind of true science to this experience. There's some kind of true meaning and purpose to who and what you are. There's some kind of balance in nature and relationship to everybody and everything that's going on. That's all beautiful. At the same time, we have to also realize that the so-called powers that be that created the deception that locked us into a synthetic universe are very well aware of all these balances. They wouldn't have been able to manipulate the conditions of this program that we are subjected to today unless they were aware of the infrastructure of the balances of this system in the first place. So, that being known, you have to also be aware that it's only a matter of time before the so-called powers that be flip, reverse, and co-opt the flat earth for the same kind of conditions that the heliocentric model did 500 years ago, adding up to today. So, whose responsibility is it to come at this or to jump ahead of that program so we don't become subjected to it? Whose responsibility is it? Like, once you get into that, what I'm saying is, once you get into that realization of all the other positive stuff that I said that comes along with, finding your meaning and your purpose, you start to realize that you start to empower yourself, and you start to realize that you can actually do something, that you have the capability to think and imagine beyond the system and actually look further into what's really going on and what the so-called powers that be. It's like I said, the difference between chess and checkers. Checkers is linear, but chess is not only 360 degrees. It's not only non-linear, but it's non-linear in 360 degrees from each position, from each piece on the board. So, like, checkers has a 360 degree sort of part to it, but it maxes out, and it's not at all as complex as what chess is. It's like layers and layers and depths of 360 degree angles that come along with the difference between chess and checkers. So, like I said, just playing flat versus globe, you're playing checkers, period. End of story. If you are playing flat versus globe and this is great, and you have like you're empowering yourself to just do that, that's great, like I said, but it will max out. It is maxed out as a tool. It's only a stepping stone. If you consume yourself with that tool, you'll become limited to that tool. And you, in that limitation, which is the main point, you will become susceptible to the conditions of the programs who don't limit themselves to tools, who understand the 360 degree perspectives of this chess game. That's why I'm saying it's so important to not limit ourselves to a checker game or to any kind of tools or any kind of pride that comes along with, flat versus globe. That's all great and fine and dandy. Camaraderie is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But if you have no solid 360 degree goals in place that can't be messed with, then what are you really doing? What are we really talking about? That's my main point. That's where I'm coming from. When in every video that I put up, in every topic that I talk about, in everything that I'm linking into this flat earth information and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much what I wanted to do with this video. Just kind of share, expand upon, why I speak in reference to all of these different topics, why yeah, just to explain exactly what I explained in the video. So thank you to They Rule, We Obey for asking that question, because I was thinking about like a follow-up video and how to tie in everything that I was talking about and expand it even further, and it helped out. So thank you, and thank you to everybody else who supports and leaves comments. I read all the comments. I might not respond to all of them, but I do thank you and appreciate everybody who leaves these comments, and even people who leave comments on other people's comments who are talking about where I'm coming from, because a lot of the times I would like to respond to people like that, so the comment section isn't tainted by just garbage, but whatever. It's just a comment section, and a lot of people learn a lot when they actually put stuff into words. Like when somebody voices something and leaves it on the internet for words or whatever it is, like I said in the last video, and like James Baldwin said in his video, like that's yourself. That's you talking about yourself. That's more reflection. If you say something to somebody else that is laced with all of this garbage, then that's more of a reflection from where you're coming from, and not too much. It doesn't really say much about the individual. It might hint at some things that somebody can possibly see from a certain perspective, but ultimately its roots are in the individual who projected that sort of energy. So yes, many thanks and shout outs to everybody who supports this channel. I know I lost some subscribers. I always lose subscribers when I go into stuff like that, because a lot of people see one video and they subscribe. They think I'm only about this, or they might have saw one of the funny videos or one of the videos where I wasn't as aggressive or passionate about a particular subject, and just kind of general, and oh, this seems kind of nice. But when I come out on some stuff like that last video, then people are like, oh, I can't believe I'm subscribed to such a person. I'm not gonna be affiliated to that kind of energy, and then unsubscribe. It's fine. It's cool. That's why all of this YouTube stuff, it's all a movie, man. It's all of it is just like the body. It's just like a fake, like the materialistic plane. The internet itself is just like a synthetic. It's a synthetic mind. So like you have the soul, the mind, and the body, the organic soul, the organic mind, and the organic body. Well, the internet is coming to be. It's to create this synthetic mind to potentially like power these synthetic bodies, which is the transhumanism taken to the umpteenth degree, and create this synthetic version of the soul, which is what Bill Nye is already setting up for, and this simulation theory is already setting up for, when they just tell you that you're just fatty tissue in the brain, just electrical impulses. It's basically sciencing the shit out of having no meaning and purpose. That's what simulation theory is about. That's what the Big Bang is about. That's what all of this heliocentric perspectives of your reality is about. It's half-assed sciencing nothingness and selling it to you as everything. And since it's something, And we're so used to getting something from somebody else instead of actually activating that somethingness or everythingness from the inside out. The masses will buy into it because of the slave mind control program. This is how you're going to have people buy into transhumanism. You're going to have people buy into whatever kind of co-opted flat earth mainstream system that comes into be. You will have people buy in. You got people buying into the New Age community right now, the alien and extraterrestrial agenda. That's all going to be part of it too. It's all being conditioned through the television, the TV shows, your Ancient Aliens, your Destination America, all these. This is why people like Joe Rogan is always talking about, like, what is it? I don't know why I can't even think of the words right now. There's like the Yeti, the Harry and the Hendersons. What is the word for? I keep saying caveman in my head, but it's not. It's Sasquatch, like Sasquatch and all those other things, because that's a segue into the alien agenda. It's a segue into aliens not being, because this is how I'm seeing what's going to happen when the flat earth gets co-opted. This is, I haven't shared this before, but this is how it exists in my head after seeing all of this stuff, after watching TV for a certain amount of time, after having not watched TV and seeing what they're programming people to think like. How I'm seeing what's going to happen with the alien agenda, the new world order, because it's just an amplification of world order. It's not new. It's already a world order. But the world order tied in with the alien agenda, tied in with the new age agenda, and tied in with the flat earth. All of this stuff will be used to create this mentality, whether it's all at one time or over an amount of time, which is probably how it will be. Over an amount of time, they'll just kind of release things one at a time to get people used to or comfortable with, Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot is the word I was looking for. To get people used to aliens. They're getting people used to aliens right now. They're getting people used to reptilians with They Live and Destination America actually saying, like, you say, when you listen to Ancient Aliens and say ancient astronaut theorists, believe that, this could be true. Well, the same thing's happening with like the Destination America network when they're putting all of these ghost shows on television and alien shows on television, and they say, no, this lady was actually in contact with a reptilian, and these guys in black suits and Air Force, majors and lieutenants and colonels came to her house and said, this was an escaped reptilian alien from our Area 51 base, and you shouldn't say anything about this, and you'll be contacted in the future. So that's tying the alien agenda or the alien mindset into the government. And that makes it real, because the government is real. Area 51 is real. Like, all this stuff that's accepted by the mainstream agenda is real. So they make it real for you with all of these television shows. So as they're tying in the alien agenda from the mainstream perspective, like television shows, Ancient Aliens, and so on and so forth, the new age is tying it in from the love and light perspective, and your extraterrestrial brethren, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and the Andromedans. They're all these higher dimensional beings who don't have war on their planets. They don't have, this destructive behavior in their worlds. And when are they going to come and fix everything and all this other stuff? So That's how I'm seeing that stuff being installed in, and not to mention the channelers that are being tied into the government, with the United Nations having the channeler Cryon actually speak to the United Nations. These heads of state are listening to a channeler on your dime and making moves based upon, moves of the world based upon that information and that experience. So this is how this is all tied in and active already, but is not being revealed as one chunk of observation. This is why I'm actually sharing it right now. So that's all one part of, and then to tie it even further, you got Oprah tying in, like Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, this whole new age perspective, Super Soul Sunday. Every angle is locked in to make you believe it from whatever your comfort level is. Some people don't like Oprah, but they like, crystals and Reiki and the new age community, so they'll stay there. Some people only like Oprah, so they'll come at the new age perspective from the Oprah perspective and, listen to, some positive information from Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle, but won't go any further than that because we're on a linear Polaroid perspective. Then you have people who are locked into only television. So they'll say, oh yeah, I heard about aliens. I know about that because I watched a television show where this lady was, approached by a reptilian, and she was, approached by the government after that, so that makes it real. I've watched Ancient Aliens, so I know about all that, the pyramids and the Mayans and the Egyptians. Yeah, that's all stuff in it. Yeah, it's probably aliens. Why? Because they told you constantly, over and over and over again, everything that happened back in the day is because of aliens. That's what Ancient Aliens is up there for. So you have that. Then you got David Icke telling you the same thing. It's all, reptilians are out there controlling everything, manipulating everything. And that's all you need to focus on, is that. Still coming at it from that sort of perspective. So you have Joe Rogan, who's, adamantly against flat earth and a lot of other things, but he's all about Bigfoot. He's all about, all that other stuff that's out there so all of these different linear projections within your reality make up your synthetic 360-degree observation of yourself and your experience as a whole. So transhumanism, you got people who come at this experience from the strictly university system scientific perspective. So they basically adopt everything that comes out of Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson's and Stephen Hawking, Michio Kaku, Brian Greene, Brian Cox's mouth, and all these big think television or big think YouTubes, Cosmos television shows, Netflix, everything that comes out of that scientific perspective of reality. They're going to believe everything from there. And all they have to do is shift. Instead of, talking bad about the flat earth, now they can just adopt it and science the shit out of it and sell it back to you with a bow on it. And now everybody's all on board. There you go. Now you got, instead of, sheep just following blind, now you got sheep following with, dirty goggles on, or some kind of virtual reality glasses on their head, because that's the synthetic shifting of the evolutionary process of this, of your experience. They sell it to you, so all they have to do is shift it and co-opt it. So that's what I'm seeing is what's happening with what will happen with the flat earth, and what's already happening with the alien agenda, and what will happen with transhumanism and all this other stuff. The alien agenda will be tied into when flat earth is activated from terrestrial aliens. So since the outer space doesn't exist anymore, now that they've co-opted flat earth, now you will be focusing only on these terrestrial aliens like Bigfoot, like the reptilians that live underground in deep underground caves next to all of these deep underground tunnels and military bases that have had interactions with these aliens underground and all this. Still, all of this is based in the materialistic plane. It's all based upon the linear conscious reality. There's no soul essence there. That's where the so-called powers that be want to keep people locked into that space. So that's how I'm seeing all of this stuff being tied in. How it will be, how the alien agenda, the manipulating of society, the racism, all this stuff will be tied in, because we are locked into largely getting our information and our idea of movement based upon the slave masters and the reactionary program of the colonial agenda as a whole. We don't do anything from the inside out. Everything's from the outside in. So until we start coming at everything from the inside out, we'll still be subjecting ourselves to the so-called powers that be, who mind control and program people from external perspectives of locking you into an outside-in observation of your reality. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. I kind of went off on some other things. I thought I was going to keep it short. I think it's only like 45 minutes, so I can't really tell, something around that. But yeah. So thank you for joining me. Thanks again for all the support. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.